Welcome back. These altcoins will 40x, but potentially the bull run will be over in just a few months. At least this is what some people in the market are saying, and potentially I agree. But we also have the Arthur Hayes of the world saying that Bitcoin is headed to $1 million. So we're going to be discussing all of this. We're going to go through many of the different cryptos, what is going on with Avalanche, XRP, Polygon, Ethereum, Solana, Bitcoin, and much, much more. So make sure you guys or subscribe to the channel. We upload every single day to bring you the latest happening in the financial world. Also, give the video a free thumbs up. And we do these kind of conversations about what's happening in the markets at a macro scale, kind of trying to understand, not necessarily timing the market, because you guys know time in the market beats timing the market. But we've been in the market for quite a few years. And we've been on this channel since 2018, kind of exploring how these markets work, how the cycles work, and how to identify where we are in the cycle. Because if you can identify where you are in the cycle, you can exit the cycle doing much better than a lot of other people. Because remember what happened in 2021. I told my viewers in 2021, I said by this time next year, August of 22, there would be people who were multimillionaires in 21 and would have zero in 22. And we saw this happening because of Celsius, Voyager, Terra Luna, 3 Arrows Capital, BlockFi, FTX. FTX was the last one, and they were a little bit after August, but by August, pretty much all of the collapses happened, and people lost all their money. And although they may not have lost their money from trading, they lost their money from being over leveraged in one exchange or one product or one yield generating ecosystem. And potentially we're going to get there again. But before we get there, right, we're going to be going much higher, you would imagine. And so at the Bitcoin conference of 2025, Arthur Hayes explained how Bitcoin can easily hit $1 million. And you guys know on this channel, when Arthur Hayes talks, we listen. And by the way, it's not just Arthur Hayes saying this. We also heard from Binance's CEO, or founder, I should say, Changpeng Zhang, who said that we potentially would hit $1 million in this cycle. But where are we in the cycle? That's what we're going to be discussing in today's video and talking about how these altcoins can 50x. So hit subscribe, give the video a thumbs up, and let's get right into it. So starting with Arthur Hayes' comments, this is what his presentation at the Bitcoin conference was. Now, if you guys know on this channel, we listen to what Arthur Hayes is saying because he has a very good understanding of the sentiment, the fear and greed index, the geo and macroeconomic conditions that are going on, how this ties in with the Treasury, how this ties in with the Federal Reserve and other banks around the world. Let's listen to what he says.
Where do I get this idea that Bitcoin could hit $1 million? So if we think about QE for poor people, banks lending more into the real economy, I estimate that could be up to $3 trillion of bank credit that will be created between now and 2028. The statistic to look for is on the weekly Federal Reserve balance sheet, other deposits and liabilities. We'll see that happening there. If the banks are allowed to buy Treasury bonds, it's estimated that $900 billion of foreign demand could evaporate. And that has to be replaced by commercial banks who now can buy these treasuries with infinite leverage. And finally, let's free Fannie and Freddie and bring $5 trillion of liquidity to the markets, which gets us close to $9 trillion printed or between now and 2028. And let's put this into context. During COVID, the COVID stimulus programs and all the aid that was given to the financial sector within the United States totaled about $4 trillion. And from the lows of March of 2020 to 70,000 in 2021 in November, we went up about 10x. Remember, price is set on the margin. It matters about the much larger marginal price, not the whole stock. And so if we have less Bitcoin on exchanges due to ETF demand, and we're printing double the amount of money between now and 2028 than when we did till COVID, then Bitcoin $1 million is just easy.
And essentially baked in. But pay attention, because again, he is a macro thinker. He is a macro investor. And so he's thinking on a very large scale, on a very large time horizon. And what we're seeing now with all of the Bitcoin treasury companies, the MicroStrategies, the BlackRocks, all of these different companies that are buying into Bitcoin, people are getting over exuberant about this. And while it is very positive, we have to take this into context and understand that it's going to take some time for the numbers to get to where we want them to be. And 2028 is right around the corner. It is the next cycle. We have one more potential cycle rotation before that, where we would go into a bear market. And a lot of people are discounting this. I've been saying it on my channel for weeks, if not months. I came back to the channel at the beginning of 2025 after about a 7 or 8 month hiatus, just to kind of take some time off. And what I have been basically, I don't know what the word is, warning or just discussing on this channel, is the fact that we are very close to the top. I mean, you could see that my titles on the videos, the top bull market is in the final phase. And I get a lot of comments, Cryptoviser, you don't know what you're talking about, which is ridiculous, right? This is my thesis. You don't have to agree with it, and that's fine. But every time we have people coming on the channel and saying, Cryptoviser, we're not in a bear market yet. It's like, I never said we were in a bear market, but that doesn't mean that we're not going to a bear market. And any person with, above zero intelligence can kind of figure out that if we are in a bull market, what comes after a bull market, right? A bear market. And so are we there? I don't think just yet, but we are close. And if you're not preparing now, before the parabolic or banana zone run up, you're not going to be prepared when that run up occurs, and you will not sell. You will not take profits. And by the way, it's not just me. This user on X, who has 171,000 followers, said the bull run will end in August of 2025. Here's why and how I'm going to cash out profits at the peak. Now, again, they are bringing up this what's called the psychology of the market cycle, which show you effectively where we are and where people's mindset is, the sentiment in the market. And these are the indicators we should be looking at, not looking at the price, not looking at the date. We need to understand the sentiment, because the sentiment, when it starts to get a little bit out of control and a little bit too bullish, typically that means we should be bearish. And when the market is too bearish, we should become bullish, right? I mean, we need to be opposite what the market is to capitalize on that. And so, as we've been discussing all year, there's a lot of people who keep saying, but Cryptoviser, when the bull market starts, or I watch other YouTubers that say when the bull market starts, when we start getting into the bull run. And I'm like, wait, literally since 2023, September was the bottom. That was the macro bottom, September 2023. And we've been going up ever since. You can look at the charts for yourself. Anyway, I can't go through this every single video. Most of my viewers understand. People who don't understand and they're commenting down below, these are, tourists to the channel because they are not subscribed. So if you're not subscribed, make sure you're not a tourist and give the video a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. That way you never miss a new video we upload every single day. And again, whether you agree or disagree with what I'm saying, it's good to at least understand my thesis to keep as a potential alternative to what your thesis is, the same way that I look at other people's thesis and say, okay, maybe this is an alternative to mine, if I'm wrong or if I'm right. Anyway, so we can see that they're saying the hope phase began in April, and we are now in May, or the beginning of June, I should really say. They think that we're in optimism, which the rally is real. Personally, I think that we're a little bit further than that, and you can see that in the videos that I have here. Bitcoin is flashing top and also the final phase of the bull market. These, and I'm probably going to have other videos coming out as well about this, but we talk specifically about the psychology of the market, and I believe that we are in phase 5. And phase 5 is, basically we're getting into the thrill phase. And the sentiment of the thrill phase is, I will buy more on margin. I got to tell everyone to buy. That's what we're seeing on social media right now. Right? And then once we get into the euphoria mode where they keep winning, all of their picks are doing well, they keep pulling profits and rotating into other trades. And the sentiment is I'm a genius. We're all going to be rich. Once you're there, you're at the top. And so what this user says is that the market is going to top in August of 2025, which is somewhat in line with what I've been kind of talking about, my thesis for the market. I don't know whether the bull run will end around August, but I am kind of targeting the August timeframe for being around the peak of the market. Now, whether it is the peak or not, it doesn't matter, because the further we go in the bull market, the closer we are to the bear market, right? It's just like the same thing. Like, If you are walking a mile, right, the further you go, the closer you are. It doesn't matter. Like the further you go, the closer you are. And so even if it's not in August or before August or shortly thereafter August, I know that approaching August, got to be very aware of how the market sentiment is and very aware of how the market is moving, because this can give me indicators that will either confirm my thesis or reject my thesis and say that I'm wrong, moving right along. Now, in this tweet thread from this user, I'm guessing she said, I'm planning to sell all my crypto in 2025, every coin. This isn't emotional, it's based on market history. She said, I got out early in 2021 before the crash, and this time I'll time it even better. I know what market tops look like now, and I'll be ready. Well, 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 doesn't this sound like the Cryptoviser? Because this is what we've been talking about, right? Selling all the crypto in 2025. The more I hear about the extended cycle and, oh, the banana zone is going to be in 2026, the more I'm like, yep, all these people are getting taken for a ride. And yes, the billionaires know the market is not going to top in 2026. They know it's going to top in 2025, but they need you to believe it's going to top in 2026. That way you don't sell your coins and you keep buying in 2025, which effectively means you will be the exit liquidity. I don't want to be the exit liquidity. I'd rather Wall Street be the exit liquidity. And so if Wall Street's the exit liquidity, when Wall Street is buying, what do we need to be doing? Selling. Now, here's the deal. Wall Street may be buying forever, but are they going to be buying every altcoin? Highly unlikely, right? We know Wall Street is really looking at Bitcoin and maybe a little bit of Ethereum, but that's it. That is it. Now, we're going to be talking about later in this video about other coins like Avalanche, XRP, Solana, etc., because I know a lot of you are going to say, but Cryptoviser, but Cryptoviser, but Cryptoviser. We'll get to those in just a minute. And so this user continued saying alt season is on the horizon, most likely between June and July. Meme coins could surge 50x. Layer 2s are set to rally, and even NFTs might show signs of life. Emerging narratives seem unmissable. That is the catch. Retail usually pile in last, right before the crash kicks off. And here's the deal. Retail this cycle is not the exit liquidity. Right? Me and you putting our money in is not enough. The exit liquidity is the billionaires. The exit liquidity is the companies. The exit liquidity is Wall Street. They are buying right now. But if the Federal Reserve does not slow down, if the economy does not kind of go out of this kind of lull and potential recession, some people are saying recession, depression, right? If that happens, the investments into crypto may slow down or stop. And if it does that, even for 6 months to 8 months, this could put a huge damper on the market because there's no liquidity then to exit. And by the way, if Wall Street's not investing, retail is definitely not investing, especially if they lost their job or they got laid off or if they're worried about inflation. And so we have to keep these things in mind beyond the August timeframe, right? These are all risks to where the market is. And so again, we've been talking about the layer 2s. They've been building and building and building and building and building. We're going to be talking about USDC in just a minute. And really, one of these is the king of USDC, the most transfers, and these coins that have the most usage, that have the most interoperability, that have the most DeFi, that have the most backend integrations, they're not moving like many of us thought that they would in the bull market so far. But this next potential pump, alt season, I think is going to throw a lot of people off because this is, in my view, the final pump of this cycle. It doesn't mean forever, it just means this cycle. But a lot of people are going to say, altcoin season just started, so we have another year of this. The volatility, yeah, we may have another year of, but the upward movement, no, I don't think that we're going to see the constant flow of money into altcoins like we're seeing in Bitcoin from Wall Street. And so this user definitely has very valid points here. She said, after the peak, history turns ruthless. 95% of tokens will drop 90 to 99%, and most won't ever come back. Hacks hit exchanges, founders disappear, and liquidity vanishes overnight. You won't have time to get out. unless you're ready in advance. And this is what I literally, either this user watches my videos or my thesis and my strategy in the markets is just on point, right? Because this is what we're talking about. You have to have the strategy ahead of time. These are the numbers that I'm gonna get out of the market. This is the sentiment of when I'm gonna get out of the market. Because if you wait, you start to get into these other categories of complacency, anxiety, denial, and panic. And then instead of at least taking a little bit of loss and still being extreme profit, loss from the peak, not loss from your investment, you just lose everything. And this is going to be a lot of people. They're going to start over trading the market because they believe in this extended cycle nonsense, right? It's not based on anything at all. The 4-year cycle is the 4-year cycle, period. Period. Anyway, she said these indicators, she talked about some other indicators in this tweet thread that I didn't pull up for this video, but she said these indicators flash red in April 2021 and December of 2017, right? Not days before the crash, but weeks in advance. You don't need time to time the exact top to come out ahead. You just need to sell while the crowd still believes the rally will continue. And I completely agree, guys. Remember back in 2021, right? She's saying these indicators flashed red in April 2021. The peak of the market was September of 2021. So it was like a 3, 4, or 5 month difference. And remember, in May of 2021, I told you guys there was the whole Dogecoin and Elon Musk going on Saturday Night Live, and people thinking it's going to go to $5 because he's going to just say Dogecoin on Saturday Night Live, and that's going to change the world. He didn't do that. The price crashed after that. And also, around that time, Vitalik said in an interview, the bubbles have already popped. And I didn't believe it at the time. I'm like, the bubbles have already popped. The market is still going higher. Well, the market is forward thinking. Keep this in mind, guys. The market is always forward thinking. The market is pricing in what the Federal Reserve is doing before the Federal Reserve does it. And so the market is pricing in where the market is going, where the Bitcoin cryptos are going, how much purchasing is going to continue on a regular basis, where these altcoins are going. And by the way, this extended cycle is another indicator, right? It's an indicator that they're trying to move the goalposts. Like, don't sell now. We're not at the top. What do you think they're doing, right? What do you think they're doing? Anyway, just to kind of show you what the hell is going on in crypto and how this thesis is potentially going to play out, Polygon-backed high-yield blockchain Katana launches their first institutional adoption. So effectively, Katana Foundation, a nonprofit focused on decentralized finance development, is launching its private mainnet, aiming to unlock greater asset productivity via deeper liquidity and higher yield for users. The Katana Foundation launched a DeFi-optimized private blockchain on May 28th, incubated by GSR Markets and Polygon. And again, Polygon is the premier layer 2. DeFi users deserve an ecosystem that prioritizes sustainability, liquidity, and consistent real yields. And effectively, it's not just Polygon that we're seeing this with. We're seeing all the institutional players not in the crypto space getting involved in crypto and crypto-backed loans and Bitcoin collateralized loans. This is all leverage. And in a bull market, people use leverage to double down and to triple down on their bets. And so once they're taking out leverage to do that, if the market turns, this could wipe out everything, right? This is what we saw with FTX, right? That's why they were trying to save all of the other companies from collapsing, because if those other companies collapsed, FTX would collapse because they were part of the borrowing and lending scheme back and forth to each other. That's what ended up happening, right? They couldn't hold it up and everything collapsed. And so this is really important to understand. We are seeing yield increasing. And this is good for some of these DeFi ecosystems because people are going to use this. But the yield and the risk and the debt, this and loaning your coins out for a little bit of yield, this is how things start to get a little bit frothy and people get a little bit ahead of themselves and ahead of the markets. But by the way, now we're seeing Jito, which is a Solana protocol, right? It's a liquid staking protocol on Solana. They're telling people to follow Polygon, and Polygon's telling people to follow Polygon as well, because Polygon is the leader. Polygon is the undisputed king of USDC payments, according to this user. He said, I was genuinely surprised when digging into monthly active USDC addresses, both native and bridged. Turns out Polygon consistently ranks #1, dominating the USDC payment game for 90% of the time since 2023. And remember what I told you guys, like for years now, USDC is the key. If these projects cannot get USDC, it's a big problem for them. And Polygon is the #1. And the reason I'm bringing up Polygon is because nobody's talking about it, right? These are the coins that potentially can do 50x. Because everybody's still talking about Solana, we're going to get to them in a minute. XRP, we're going to get to them in a minute, but nobody's talking about Polygon. And Polygon has the data. Polygon has the backing to show that they are a contender for the top. But meanwhile, if you look at the Polygon crypto, it's all the way down here at number 42. $2 billion, and it's the #1 used stablecoin, USDC payment rail. They're also launching loans, right, and yield. Anyway, average of 2 million active USDC addresses per month. 2 million active addresses a month. This is pretty extraordinary in my view. Moving right along, ultra low fees and fast confirmations. This is why Polygon was created as a layer 2 to take some of the strain off of Ethereum and have lower fees and faster times, right, for confirmation. Ideal for payments, commerce, and stablecoin utility. And you can see right here, Polygon is reaching the all-time high. 2.92 million USDC active addresses in April of 2025. And Solana is the second at 1.78 million, and then Base, and then Ethereum, and then Arbitrum. And so nothing even comes close, right? But all of these cryptos, all of these blockchains are higher market cap than Polygon. This is, in my view, a disconnect, right? Where some coins are overvalued and this coin potentially is undervalued, similar to many other coins that are potentially undervalued. And so in this final phase of the cycle, I believe that we're going to see rotations out of the coins that did perform, like potentially Solana's and maybe even Bitcoin, and rotation into some of these alts for the last final stretch and pump up. And potentially this will drive 50x moves, not just with Polygon, but with many of these altcoins, as people and institutions may start kind of spreading their wings and getting into other cryptos. And that is what they are doing, guys. They are doing this. New Jersey is going to be tokenizing $240 billion of property deeds on Avalanche. So New Jersey County is set to tokenize $240 billion worth of property deeds after signing a deal with the blockchain-backed land record management firm called Balcony. Balcony said they signed a 5-year deal with Bergen County's clerk's office to tokenize 370,000 deeds on the Avalanche blockchain, adding that this was the largest blockchain-based deed tokenization project in the U.S. This is the most populous county in Jersey, in northwest of Manhattan. Bergen County has 1 million residents, producing $500 million in annual property tax revenue. Balcony is working with Bergen County and multiple other New Jersey municipalities to digitize property records, and it's powered by Avalanche. And so this is a potentially another signal, right? We're at this point, and where is Avalanche, right? Has Avalanche price moved based on this? No, it's down 10% in the last 24 hours. From when I'm recording this video, obviously the price may be different when you're watching this. But the indicator is there, right? You have city governments putting property deeds on the blockchain, which we kind of figured would happen over the last, 5 years of reporting on this channel. But there wasn't a move in the price. There wasn't a valuation increase. Seems kind of odd. It seems kind of off. And again, I think a lot of the focus is just based on Bitcoin, really, this whole cycle, because of the institutional interest. But again, everything's going to go back to the fundamentals. And these companies and these governments, they're going to be looking at other coins, other blockchains like Polygon, like Avalanche, like XRP, to see what they can do. And this is where it's really, really important that you understand. If you are in a crypto that is a loser crypto, you need to get out. right? Because otherwise, it's just going to be a loss, a 100% loss. And a lot of these coins are not coming back, guys. They are not coming back. They have no USDC implementation. They have no interoperability. They have no DeFi. And now in 2025, almost 2026, some of these blockchains are saying, "Oh, well, we're gonna launch DeFi now," and they want us to cheer that on. It's like the rest of crypto was there 5 years ago. Like, what are we doing, right? Do you guys remember DeFi Summer, Solana Summer? Yeah, that was 2019, right? We're 6 years later. And so you guys got to pay attention because the price that these coins are at today may never be reached again. Everybody keeps saying, but Cryptoviser, we're going to always hit the all-time record high. It's like, well, if you're basing that just on hope and prayers, you gotta really look at the data because the data shows different things, right? The companies are choosing Avalanche. Governments are choosing Avalanche. Governments are choosing XRP. XRP marks another milestone as Dubai brings $16 billion in real estate company to the blockchain. So XRP has achieved another impressive milestone with the Dubai Land Department's announcement of a $16 billion real estate tokenization project on the XRP ledger. In the press release, a company revealed that it partnered with the Dubai Land Development to develop a secure and compliant tokenization framework. The project will focus on structuring, minting, and tokenizing real estate deeds on the blockchain. The release also mentioned that the XRP ledger has been chosen for the tokenization project, representing a huge achievement for the XRP ecosystem. And if we go to the XRP price, also down, right? Now, XRP has done really well, but again, this is going to take quite a while to get implemented and for people to see whether this is, whether this is worth it or not. But in an alt season, this could potentially push the coin up significantly higher. Whether the valuation is overvalued or not, in my opinion, I don't know. But it doesn't matter. The market can still go much, much higher. And so we potentially are going to have, competition and movement in the top 10, top 20, top 30 crypto coins. We also are now hearing Vivo Power, which is a publicly traded company, has raised $121 million to launch XRP treasury strategy with Saudi royals backing. So Vivo Power, which you can see right here, is listed on the NASDAQ. It looks like about a $56 million valuation, but you can see just in the 1 month, we went from $3 to $7, almost a doubling. If we go back to the beginning of the year, it looks like the low was 65 cents. So basically, we've done over a 10x from the lows this year in Vivo Power. And this is another company similar to what we're seeing with companies buying Solana, companies buying Ethereum, companies buying Bitcoin. Vivo Power International said it has entered into an agreement for a $125 million private share placement to fund its pilot to digital asset treasury, focusing on XRP, the fourth largest crypto. The fundraising was led by the Saudi prince, chairman of the 11th holding company, investing $100 million, a spokesperson for the company said. And so, did the price move because of this? No. I mean, it's the same thing like when MicroStrategy is buying Bitcoin. Like, why is the price not moving at all? I mean, it has moved, but not really think about it. In the previous cycles, right, there wasn't this much volume, this much billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars in the last couple of years have been hundreds of billions. Think about that. Hundreds of billions of dollars were inflowed into Bitcoin space, and the price has barely gone up compared to last cycle, where significantly less entered the space and the price went up significantly more from a percentage standpoint. And maybe that's just because the market cap is getting higher, but I don't know. I would imagine that we would have a liquidity shock at some point. And we have not just seen that just yet. But when we have the liquidity shock, this is when I think that we're going to see the most volatile movements in the price. And because in the peak of the market, you're going to have all these different companies buying, all of retail buying, all of Wall Street buying, pension funds buying, the Bitcoin ETFs, and then the Bitcoin ETFs buy the Bitcoin or MicroStrategy or whatever the situation, all this buying is happening. That could create a supply-demand imbalance, and then the price can shoot up very, very high. This is where I think that you'd see some pullback or even some selling in the Bitcoin ETFs, which would again cause pressure. Because remember what I've been saying since the beginning of the cycle: Wall Street is in control of the markets. That was the whole point of the ETFs. And we're seeing that because of the MicroStrategy purchases and the Bitcoin ETF activity during those times, right? They kept the price stable by selling while MicroStrategy was buying. We're also hearing about other treasury companies like publicly traded company SharpLink raised $425 million to create an Ethereum treasury strategy. We heard about this just the other day. And yeah, their stock price is going up as well, parabolically. This is the banana zone, right? Everybody is focused on the banana zone in crypto. But the thing is, crypto is not. I think that a lot of people look at crypto as like, oh, I can get rich quick during a pump, during a bull run. And yes, historically, this has been the case. But as we kind of highlighted on this channel back in 2020, during the bull run, you could have made more money trading grayscale products when they were discount or premium to the NAV in 2020 than you could have made in the crypto market, right? Because there was constant movement of that, negative 50% premium, positive 50% premium. And so the price was not tethered to this asset. We now have these assets in Wall Street funds. So if MicroStrategy buys too much and Wall Street thinks the price is going to go shoot up and they don't want it to, they just sell some of the ETF Bitcoin, right? And the ETF sell off. This is what we saw happening in the beginning of 2025. And so that is Wall Street holding the market in a tight range, which we kind of predicted over the last few years once Wall Street got involved, that we would see less volatility. And that is literally what we're seeing. But the volatility this cycle, I believe, is in these other products. The volatility is going to be in some of these altcoins that are significantly underperforming, but have very good metrics. And also in all of these stocks, right? Vivo Power up 10x, SBET up 10x, 20x actually. If you look at all the Bitcoin treasury companies, Nakamoto, 21, Cantor Equity Partners, these are all up 10x in a matter of just 1 day or 2 days. And so we're already there. Like we're already in the bull market. People are just looking at the wrong signals. They want the same signals that they had last cycle or that they learned last cycle. But every cycle is not the same. And cycles change. And this is where we have to change with it. And this, as Ethereum co-founder Vitalik Buterin sees an opportunity as Sweden and Norway ditch their cashless operations. He said Nordics are walking back the cashless society initiative because their centralized implementation of the concept is too fragile. I also think something that people don't talk about is some people just don't want to always pay with a card or digitally. They want to pay with cash. It's easier to budget, especially when you don't have a lot of money, right? And so being able to pivot and change is super important. And change your thesis, change your strategy, change the path of the ecosystem, change the path of going cashless. There's a lot of companies that they think, oh, let's just put a kiosk and let people order there. Well, if it's a new restaurant, I want somebody to explain the menu. I want to see what the food looks like. I want to see other people's food. But a lot of these newer restaurants that you see, like, it's just a plain front, right? A little window to pick up your food or a little door that you grab your food when it's ready. But you don't see anybody. You don't see the food. And it's like, this is granted, people do eat at these places, but you see people eating at restaurants at a more often than that, right? Because people want to see the food. They want to be in that environment. So it's not about just making things easier. It's about adjusting and saying, wait, this is not working. I still go into restaurants that they have, the QR codes, and they want you to order from the QR code. It's like, wait, I'm with 20 people. You want us all on our phones for 10 or 15 minutes of the dinner on our phone? Give us a freaking menu, right? But a lot of restaurants, they won't change. And they'll be like, why isn't anybody coming to our restaurants? It's like, you don't have even a paper menu. That's so lazy. Anyway, I'm going on a huge tangent, but the point is being able to adjust your thesis, adjust your business, adjust your strategy. And if you can't do that, you're not going to win here. And again, remember pre the market prices these things in, or the indicators are there. Going back to this user's post, right? The indicators usually are way before the market reaction. And so this is a Standard Charter is saying Solana may be a meme coin one-trick pony. Standard Charter's latest report warns that Solana may be a one-trick pony with meme coin trading dominating its usage and now in decline. Now, we can go into this article, but basically it says the same thing. They said so far, this has been mostly in meme coin trading, which accounts for the majority of the activity on Solana. Standard Charter said that the meme coin frenzy served as a stress test for Solana scalability, but came with drawbacks due to the volatility and speculative nature of these assets. Yeah, I mean, we've literally been talking about this since February, March, and people say, Cryptoviser, you're an idiot. Solana has so much. And what have they built? Billions and billions of dollars put into investment and development of the ecosystem, and all we've gotten this cycle has been meme coins. People say, no, Cryptoviser, that's not it. Well, what else? Because they're not the king of USDC. They're not the king of interoperability, and they're not the king of AI either. They were the king of meme coins, and that's it. And so we've been saying this for months. Now the big banks are saying, well, yeah, meme coins are the only thing on Solana. And then people are going to say, oh, yeah, Solana's not worth it. We've been saying this for months now, literally months. And now people are starting to come around to it. And so we'll probably continue to start to see the Solana price devaluing, especially as we start to see rotation into other coins that have been underperforming to potentially perform in this final phase of the bull run, if that's what we are actually in. And also, by the way, BlackRock plans to purchase approximately 10% of Circle's IPO shares. And again, follow where the money is. I've been talking about USDC for years. I've been telling you guys on my channel for years. USDC is the digital dollar. And so far, that's turning out to be 100% accurate. I told my viewers, I said, any crypto projects that don't have USDC and are actively trying to not get USDC, these will be losers in the long term. So far, that's accurate. And then we heard rumors that Ripple was potentially trying to buy Circle, which, again, why are they trying to buy Circle? Because they don't even have Circle implemented. This is the same nonsense as, in the last cycle, the Cardano community begging Sam Bankman, like 3 weeks before the exchange collapse, begging, Sam, please list Cardano, please list it, please list it. I'm like, why do you guys want him to list Cardano when he has been listing perpetual futures, which effectively are used to manipulate the price of Cardano or whatever coin is in the perpetual futures? But they didn't even list the actual coin for years, and now you want him to list it? It's like, what? Why would you want that? And so to think that Ripple believed that they would be able, if the rumor was true that they were trying to buy it, that Circle would sell to Ripple, no, it wasn't going to happen. And then we heard the Cardano founder was cheering on Ripple buying Circle. But again, because Cardano doesn't have Circle, Cardano doesn't have USDC. To this day, they don't have it. And I believe it's an active campaign to not get USDC on the chain. I don't know for what reason. So XRP has no stablecoin liquidity besides their own. That nobody's using RLUSD besides Ripple. They're using Tether. They're using USDC. That's the key here. And so now BlackRock plans to purchase 10% of Circle's IPO shares. It's like, yeah, they were the delusion that Ripple would be able to buy Circle is maybe in the future, right? Maybe they'll buy enough shares because remember, Ripple has unlimited liquidity. They get 1 billion coins of XRP every month that they can sell. So if they start liquidating those coins, effectively, they probably could purchase Circle on the open market the same way that Elon Musk purchased Twitter. Twitter was a publicly traded company. He just basically bought every share in the company, bought them out. And so that could happen in the future. But because Ripple has unlimited funds. But to think that Circle was going to sell to them, it's like, guys, you're missing the point. Circle is the digital dollar. The digital dollar is not going to be owned by Ripple, at least not right now. Maybe in the future, but not right now. It's going to be owned by BlackRock. The banks, right? The banks are going to own Circle. That's what Circle is becoming, the digital dollar. And so, again, if your coin is not connected with USDC, it's over. There's no possible way that that coin, whatever coin it is, there's a lot of coins, XRP, Cardano, Internet Computer, Stellar, they don't get you. Actually, I think Stellar does have USDC. But either way, I digress. You guys understand what I'm saying. These coins that don't have USDC have no liquidity, no bank liquidity, no connection to the Federal Reserve. And so how can they compete with the other coins like Polygon, where we just saw the actual data that it's the most used USDC payment system? That means that companies are using it, banks are using it. Everybody in DeFi is going to be connecting to Polygon. And so to think that all of these coins that have no USDC, no stablecoin liquidity, no actual digital dollar liquidity on their ecosystem, to think that they're in the top 10 and Polygon's number 50 or whatever it is, this is crazy. It's really crazy. And I believe that we are going to go back to fundamentals. And this potentially means XRP out of the top 10, Solana out of the top 10, Cardano, Dogecoin out of the top 10, and potentially some of these other coins pumping and staying in the top 10 once they get there. I don't know. We haven't really seen a shakeup of the top 10 this cycle, which is also kind of odd because in previous cycles, we've seen the top 10 rotate many different times. And this is where I think a lot of Wall Street is talking about dropping the ranking by market cap and actually ranking these blockchains by utilization and capabilities. And this brings us full circle, right? Because we started the video with Arthur Hayes talking about a $1 million Bitcoin by the next cycle. And it's not just him. BlackRock CEO Larry Fink says that Bitcoin could rise to $500,000 to $700,000. Let's listen to what he says.
If you're frightened of your debasement of your currency, or you're frightened of your economic or political stability of your country, you can have an internationally based instrument called Bitcoin that will overcome those local fears. And so I'm a big believer in the utilization of that as an instrument. And so if that becomes true, and you see that it could be a proper hedge against maybe hope security or equities. Yeah. The question is, could you see a 2 or 5% allocation? I was with a sovereign wealth fund during this week, and that was the conversation. Should we have a 2% allocation? Should we have a 5% allocation? If everybody adopted that conversation, but it would be 500,000, 600,000, 700,000 per Bitcoin.
So there you have it, guys. I mean, this is underway, right? Bitwise is saying that the 4-year cycle is dead and there will be an overwhelming amount of capital coming to Bitcoin. And while this may be true, remember, this is focused in Bitcoin. It's not in the altcoins. And so I don't know where the altcoins lie. It's a very odd cycle because the altcoins are there and they have products and they have usage and they have interoperability and they have a future roadmap. But for some reason, there hasn't really been too much focus on altcoins this cycle. It's been all on Bitcoin. And so this leads the question, like, do you just stay in Bitcoin or do you use that underperformance in the altcoins as potential hedge that when the Bitcoin trade rolls, yeah, we're going to have altcoins? Or do we just decouple the two, right? Where we say Bitcoin and the rest of crypto are two different things and they're going to operate differently. Personally, I still think that we are going to have corrective phases. Now, whether you want to call that a full bear market or you just want to call it a corrective phase or a correction, I don't know. But I don't want to be at the bottom of the market in a bear market and say, shit, I didn't take any profits this cycle. And I think there's going to be a lot of people who do that, or they just overtrade, and that's how they lose, right? They overtrade into a bear market. So we have to identify and know when the right time to buy, when the right time to sell. I mean, if you're thinking about this on a longer time horizon, and this video is probably not for you, but if you're looking to exit the market at some point and lock in those profits, yeah, you have to understand how this market is and look for the signals that we are at the top. With that, let me know where you think we are in the cycle, utilizing the psychology of markets cycle chart on the screen. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button. If you want to help support the channel financially, click the join button to learn more about becoming a channel member. All it is $1.99 a month. That's the lowest tier. We have other tiers as well if you want to help support more. And hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video. I'll see you when I see you. Crypto on.